I'm going to cover a subject I've talked about before in a kind of different way than I'm going to talk about it today. We all know what happened January 6th in Washington, D.C. at the U.S. Capitol. A couple of days after that, social media did something that they probably should have done way before. They decided that certain people didn't deserve to be on their platforms anymore. So Twitter banned them, Facebook banned them, YouTube banned them. And these people wanted to fuss. They all wanted to fuss. And truth be told, they went to their favorite places, Fox News, the other two that I can never remember because I don't care. I'm never going to watch it. I'm never going to read anything that they put out. But they went to them and they complained saying, oh, they shut down our First Amendment rights. We should be allowed to say what we want to say, and that they're being more favorite towards Democrats and these other people. Black Lives Matter. They let them say whatever they wanted to. And the truth of the matter is, it ain't quite true. Matter of fact, it's really not true at all. Here's the thing. What social media did to these politicians is they decided that they were not allowing lies anymore on their platforms. They were not going to allow people who promoted incendiary behavior from the people who were listening to them. And let's face the facts here. You had a good number of people, Republicans, who decided that there were irregularities in the election, and they were going to have their say. But they all had their say. And you know what? I think it was something like 68 out of 69 got shot down pretty quickly by federal courts, state courts, the Supreme Court. Why? Because there was no proof. There was no evidence that anything bad happened. But what did you have? You had the guy in the White House who you got audio recording. I don't know if they use tape anymore, but still you have audio recording of him calling the Secretary of State in Georgia, telling him to find votes that will win him the election. Come on. You know you lost. And everyone else knows he lost, but they didn't want to say it. Why? Because they got this base of people out there who believe everything that the orange guy said. Everything. And you know what? He never has taken responsibility for anything in the 4 years he was in office, and he was enabled by some of these people who got themselves banned on social media. Now, they still had Parler. At least they did for a couple of days until Android and Apple and Amazon said, nah, we don't want to be associated with that. And you know what? Parler decides they're going to sue Amazon for First Amendment rights, which ain't going to work because First Amendment rights are government. They're not for individual platforms. They don't represent the government. There's been a question as to whether the power of social media organizations is too much and whether something should happen about that. And I've got a mixed emotion on that, but that's not what I'm talking about today. So I may address that in another video. But here's the thing. Conservatives have said that their voices have been suppressed for a long time. And it's not true. Yes, certain things they've said have been suppressed. Certain things they've said have had that warning that comes up on both Facebook and Twitter saying this ain't quite true, because it's not. But they're not just picking on conservatives, they pick on everybody. And I'm saying picked on kind of a general way for people who deny climate change, for people who say that pollution isn't changing the atmosphere and that the problems that we're having have nothing to do with that. 97.5% of all the science that's out there says this is happening. And it's happening because of this. And you can look at the weather patterns. You know, here we are in the United States. We had the hottest summer in history this year. And you know what? We only beat the year before by a little bit. We have had, in my area, which usually gets tons and tons of snow, we haven't got much snow. But you know who's getting snow? The South is getting a lot of snow. We had a record number of hurricanes this year. I don't know about tornadoes, but we had a record number of hurricanes. We had major fires, not just in California. We had fires in Oregon. In Oregon and some other states. A lot of people were driven out of their homes during a pandemic. That the orange guy back in February and March said, this shouldn't be that bad a thing. We'll be over this. It's less dangerous than the flu. While at the same time saying, we probably won't end up with 100,000 deaths, but that's not bad if we can keep it at that. The regular flu has never come close to 100,000 deaths in this country. Never come close. You've had a lot of people who thought they had the flu, but it turned out they didn't. But even those who did, you never had close to that many people dying at a time. This year, well, heck, it's 2001, but in the non-calendar year period, we have had months where, days, where there have been more people who died than were killed in 9/11 in New York City. That just won't work. We've got projections now, it could be 500,000 people who die before they can get some kind of control over this. That's scary. And you know what? Who are the people who are saying that it's not really contagious and it's a fake and that it suppresses their rights not to have to wear a mask? Conservatives. You don't see non-conservatives saying that. There may be a few folks who don't want to wear the masks, but they're not saying that this isn't dangerous. They're wearing masks. Heck, in my area, I haven't seen anyone not wearing a mask. I mean, I did out at the lake, but there are like maybe 7 or 8 people at this massive lake outside walking. So, no one was getting close to anybody. But in the malls and the stores, everyone's wearing masks. Maybe not throughout the entire state, but in my area, everyone's wearing a mask. So people who are saying this isn't really all that bad, you're being suppressed. It's not because you're conservative, it's because you're lying. You know you're lying. There are some people who actually believe that, and they start repeating the lies that they got from someone else. Y'all are getting suppressed. You deserve it because you're lying. You know you're lying. If you don't know you're lying with all the data that's out there, then there's nothing you can do. If you're saying that the election was stolen, where's the proof? There's no proof. You want to know some proof? The proof is that Fox and the other networks have backed off on the claims that they made against the voting machines, the people who made the voting machines. Why? Because it was proven that the voting machines were fine, and the voting people are saying, or the people who own the machines, are now going to sue for billions, not millions, billions of dollars. And so all 3 of those networks have gone back on and put on something saying, we're not saying that the Dominion machine and whoever the other company is, because I can never remember the name, I should probably write it down somewhere. We're not saying that those machines were wrong. Yes, you did. You said that there were irregularities from the voting machine. You said that. Some of you mentioned the name. I saw the video because CNN put together a video of the people who said it and then the people who went back to try to backtrack on it. Y'all gonna get hit with some major fines. That's just it. You can't have it both ways. You don't get to lie. You don't get to lie that much. I put something up on Facebook. It was this picture of the National Guard in front of these, I don't even know what you call them, but these posts and poles or whatever. And it was showing the difference between how the National Guard and police were ready for Black Lives Matter protests compared to what happened on the 6th. And they said they were outside the Capitol building. I have no idea what the Capitol building looks like. Truthfully, I had been in the Capitol building once, but I came in through a different way, so I had never seen the front of the Capitol building. And the Lincoln Memorial, I hadn't seen it since 1978 when I was in Washington, D.C. I saw a brief picture of it in Planet of the Apes movie. I hate to say that. But Lincoln was an ape in that movie. I didn't pay any attention to that. So I get this notice a couple days later from Facebook saying, this isn't quite accurate. The reason you're using it, this is my language in it, by the way. They didn't write it that way. But in essence, what they were saying is this is not what it proclaims to be, which I didn't even say that's what it was. That's what the picture said. But it is relevant to the conversation that you wanted to have. So it turns out that the building was the Lincoln Memorial, not the Capitol building, but it was still a point that even Facebook said, this is a related point. So it didn't suppress what I had, but it put this message on there. And the message would have been out there for anybody who had seen it after a couple of days. So if anyone else came by and saw it, they would see this fact check thing on there. I ended up deleting it. I wasn't going to, but another friend of mine said, you probably should because, it's not really the one. I wasn't going to do it. And then she said, well, it would be the ethically good thing to do. And I said, oh, no, you didn't come at me for ethics. I had to think about it. I said, yeah, you got me on that one. So I took it down because I always want to be ethical. At least I run that way. And it wasn't an intentional lie. Why would I not think that it was the truth? I'd seen it so many places. And like I said, I didn't really know what the Lincoln Memorial looked like. I really didn't know what the Capitol looked like. That's on me. It happens. But I took it down. And like I said, did I get suppressed by that? Indirectly, because they put out to everyone else that it's not true. I've seen a bunch of that on Facebook, by the way, where people have shared stuff that's not true. So, they don't just pick on conservatives. They pick on what they perceive as either outright lies or indirect misinformation. If you're a conservative and you want to say what you want to say, just change how you say it. Don't use inflammatory language. Don't directly lie, because you're lying about a lot of that stuff. You just are. If you get fact checked, own up to it, or do your own research and try to put something else out there and see if you still get suppressed by that. And if you get banned for 24 hours, you got banned from 24 hours. That's just it. That's my thought. Won't be popular with everybody, but it's my truth. It's everyone else's truth. It's social media's truth. Let me know your thoughts. My name is Mitch Mitchell. I'll talk with y'all another time.